Hi, Stan. Do you want me to set up the waiting room?
No, I don't think so. I think this will be fine. Um, I did not see a message to let the people know that we were starting a little early, so I sent one just a few minutes ago. I thought you were going to ask Will to send a message out to the board that we were going to start early. So I didn't see that message, so I presumed it didn't go. So I sent one. Did you get my recent message, or did you get anything from Will indicating that?
I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. I've been doing something else.
Okay. Well, Miriam responded to my email, said, "Are we starting early?" And I said, "Yes, I hope." And we are. Thank you for opening it earlier. But I suspect the other board members did not get my recent message, which was just a few minutes ago, saying that we were going to start early and asking them to be here early. So we'll see what shows up.
Here's a message from Ross.
I don't see anything from Ross. Is it to the board?
No. It's about the presentation on, I don't know. Oh, it's about his planned presentation on privacy.
Wow. Well, that didn't go to the board then. That just went to you, I suppose.
Yep.
Good morning.
There's Miriam now. I was just reading your response, Marion.
Yeah. Do you think everybody got a notice that we're starting early?
No.
Well, yes, but just a few minutes ago. What time did I send mine? 42 minutes ago, 9:29, 9:30. I sent my message out because I didn't see anyone else.
That was the first one I saw about meeting early.
Yeah.
People don't read their email all day.
Yeah. Well, Hank, did you talk after we talked yesterday? Did you talk to Will and ask him to send a reminder that we might start early?
No.
Well, that's why they're not coming in early.
Yeah. But I think if we handle this first, we might be there before Ross shows up.
Yeah, he did not get any alert about starting early.
If you want me to set up a waiting room, then I can keep Ross out if we're in the middle of something. We finish.
Well, why don't you do that and let me be a co-host, and we can both keep an eye on the waiting room and let the regulars come in promptly.
Okay, there's a waiting room.
Okay.
And you are host.
All right.
I'm gonna warm my coffee.
can't remember where the waiting room shows up when somebody gets in it.
The next person that signs in will be placed in the waiting room, I believe.
Yes,
And then,
I'm not sure where the notice is for that. So I can see who's in there.
well, I guess we'll,
Okay, there it is. Carol E. Who's Carol E?
Carol Erickson is a non-board member.
So she's in the waiting
And from Walkabout.
and I just let her in.
Okay. Oh, that's Carol Eckert. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Carol. We're implementing the waiting room.
And there's
And
Will.
we're going to be going into a board meeting and a discussion. So you're welcome to watch as a non-board member, but you will be muted during the board meeting. If you wish to say something, just raise your hand or something.
When will the board
Or you can
meeting?
step out for a bit if you wish.
The
When
board meeting will
board
start
meeting be?
as soon as there are enough people, probably shortly after 10:30.
When will it end, the board meeting?
Well, we try to wrap it up within an hour.
And then there's questions and answers after that?
Yes, there will be question and answers
Okay,
after about an hour.
okay,
Yes, but
And I'll-
sometimes it's much shorter, so check in periodically.
okay, cool. Thank you, thank you.
Will, I've enabled the waiting room so that we can
Okay,
keep Ross out
okay.
of discussing
He doesn't usually show
him.
early. Miriam, I got a renewal through the mail. A check, so I'll get that to you somehow.
You went to the post office box?
Yes,
Oh, and there was only one check there?
yes, just one.
Oh, then everybody must be using PayPal.
Most, yeah, all the others are using PayPal. This is the only.
I'm
check,
using PayPal and it had to be done as a donation. Is that the way we do it?
No, that's what it says, but it's it works. It goes direct to the Senior Computer Group's PayPal account.
Okay, well, I paid, I must admit I was late. I just paid yesterday.
No, I received it.
Oh, you received that?
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason, I'm not got my background up. Let's see what's going on here.
How many do we need for a quorum?
6.
I thought we were not going to vote on it today.
Well, nothing was determined.
Okay, well, we can do that if we get a quorum.
1, 2,
We have
3.
1, 2, 3,
Four.
4, 5. We have 6 at this point.
Really?
Well, we have Sammy O is not a board member and neither is Carol E.
Right.
So we only have 5. No, 6. We
Isn't
have.
Arlene, Arlene is a
yeah.
member?
Yeah, Arlene. Okay, yeah, we have a
Okay, one
we
thing
have a quorum.
I hadn't mentioned is there is a minor financial impact, and that is that we usually award a certificate. And so there would be a printing and a framing of a certificate. And I would guess, $50 at most, but that would be the only financial impact to it.
I don't see why you have to do that. We used to do it when we met in person.
Well, I think it's good if you recognize someone as being a life member. I think it's good that they have a certificate or something that shows that. What do other people think about that?
okay, you can print something out. I'm not sure, you know, it's the framing that's going to cost most of the money. Can you print something out and email it, and he can put it up on whatever wall he wants?
Yeah, I just think, I don't know.
Yeah,
I just think it's nice to have a certificate frame that someone can put up on a wall. That's all.
right, I agree
Well-
with Will, and the treasury is in such a condition that we can really afford
It's
to
not
do
that
it.
much money, you know,
Yeah,
it's,
okay. Mhm.
in fact, we got a donation from someone that I think would cover it. So over and above our dues. So, but I think I can show you what I'm keeping as information on people that are joining up. Let me see if I can go to it in just a minute.
Well, I would like to open the meeting and go to this discussion so we can get it over with before we have to exclude Will, Hank or whatever.
Okay,
So the important people are here is the chairman and the secretary. So I'm going to declare the meeting open at 10:20 and open the floor for discussion on the possibility of admitting a new life member.
okay, let me
Speaking
make
as
a
one
motion.
who did not see any life members joining while I was active on the board anyway, I was under the impression that life membership was something people bought into at a time of financial strife in the past and paid for life membership. I have been corrected in that misopinion. And so it is a honorable title. And I would like to turn the floor over to Will and his proposal for membership of a new life membership.
Okay, before we do that, let me share a screen. Can I share a screen, Hank?
Sure.
And Saul is with us now.
Yeah, so
It
now we have
says the host
7.
is disabled.
Wait a minute. No,
speech.
Will, would you please not share a screen? Because when you do, it makes it harder for me to watch about the
Okay, I was just going to
the
show a
waiting
list
list.
of the existing 9 life members. No, life membership now is strictly recognizing someone for the extra work that they have done for our organization. And so far, there are 9 people on that list. They also enjoy the fact that no dues are required to be paid. However, many people, I shouldn't say many, some people do pay the dues even so. But it's usually recognized with a certificate of recognition, which is presented by the president. And I think Ross Malloy, I would like to make the motion that Ross Malloy be recognized as a life member with all the attending advantages of life membership. And can we get a second to that motion?
I second it.
I will second it as well.
Okay, we got 2 seconds. But the only drawback, as I said earlier, may be a minor expense for a certificate and a framing, which I don't think would exceed, $50 probably. I have a certificate somewhere. If I can find it, I can make a copy of it. I don't have a good printer that will print on good paper. I do have a printer, but I don't have the cartridges for it. So there may be some place we can get it, made and printed and to look very nice. Usually it's signed by the president and maybe even the vice president.
I don't think we need a printer to do it. Somebody must have. I have a color printer,
Okay.
and I think once it's framed and in a paper, it doesn't need to be on by a printer per se.
Yeah.
If you can do it in multicolors, that's fine.
Yeah. We
If
can
you
handle
want me
that
to print it,
separately.
I'll print it.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to go to a quote printer to do it.
Okay.
So
We can work out those details later.
All right, just to alert the people, the board members and others that have joined us, this is the board meeting. We have started it for the purpose of discussion of life membership for Ross Malloy, and Will Wakely has the floor.
It's been moved and seconded. I guess up to you, Stan, as president, to call for the vote.
Okay,
Or
as
discussion.
always, I would like the secretary to read back the motion as presented and seconded.
All right, so the motion before us is to admit Ross Malloy as a life member, which this is an honorary title. And what that does is means that he will get a certificate, and also he will not be required to pay dues to remain a member. That is the motion before us. Can I call for all the ayes?
Well, why don't we have some
Wait a minute,
discussion
wait a
first?
minute.
No,
First of all, I have a particular thing about the motion should be brief and concise so that the secretary can read what was said. And I don't think that's what was said. It's just a little peculiarity of me, but I think that the motion should be able to be repeated verbatim as presented. I'll accept that motion this time, but please remember in the future to keep the motion brief and concise and only list the things that are necessary to get the action done. All right, all in favor of the
Should
motion,
we have
raise your
discussion?
hand or say aye.
yeah.
I think we should have
there
discussion first, shouldn't we?
Is there any more discussion? Does anyone wish to talk to that point?
I agree. Any other comments about it? All right. I've called the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say aye. All abstaining, say aye. All right, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, and we can proceed with the meeting. Will you take the head of making a presentation, or should I do that today
No,
during
I would say,
President's remarks?
no, I would say, let's make the presentation next month. Because in
So
the
we don't
meantime,
say
I would
anything
like,
about it today.
no,
Correct.
Well, wait a minute. Are you going to tell him?
not today.
Why,
I think-
why not?
Why not?
Because we don't have the certificate.
You don't have to have the
Bill?
certificate.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can
Tell
say,
them it's in the mail. Okay.
yeah, you can tell him we expect him to show up next month because he's going to get a certificate.
No,
My other
I don't
question would be, has he paid dues?
no.
Who cares?
All right, there's another reason for telling him today. He doesn't have to pay dues.
Okay,
Okay.
All right,
it's your
I'm
job,
not going
Stan.
to make a big ceremony of it if you think I am.
Well,
I'm going to announce it in my president's remarks and tell him that a certificate will be forthcoming.
I suggest that the president wait until Ross is here and then probably wait until just before adjourning the board meeting while it's still official and tell him
Okay,
right then.
good idea. I will hold that until the end of the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Good suggestion.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Alice King wants to be admitted. I'm going to admit her.
I just did.
Okay. Saul,
Could I be a co-host on this meeting to assist?
Sure. You're there. You
okay. To bring those up to date, we have voted to admit Ross Malloy as a honorary life member, and it will be announced at the end of the meeting today, and a certificate will be presented next month or by mail, whichever is more convenient.
I would prefer that you not discuss certificate until it's a fait accompli.
What?
Repeat, please. I
I would
misunderstood.
prefer that you don't talk about a certificate until we actually have one in hand.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Will thinks he can find one, but that's a guarantee.
Yeah, we can present that at a future time, obviously, so. I
All
don't
right,
think that's
I'll
necessary.
just. All right, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a certificate?
I'll ask by email the various life members if any of them have a copy of it.
But they were given out in the past, is that true?
Yes, they were presented to all the life members.
I see, okay.
I've
And
been,
I have
I
one
think we
around
need
here
a little
somewhere.
publicity about what life membership entails, because I may not be the only one that was ill-informed or ill-remembered or in error about my opinion about what a life member was. So I think we need something on
What
the
did you take
website
it-
about life members, who they are, and what they did to earn such honor, et cetera, et cetera.
Why don't you do that when you tell Ross what we've just given him?
what did you think it was, Stan?
I thought we paid, it was people who paid in advance due to a financial situation, paid $100 or so for life membership in order to get us over a financial hump. That
No.
was, okay, I was wrong. I admit that. Saul.
I just would suggest that you bring Alice up to date because I don't think she was here for the earlier discussion.
And she's muted, but trying to talk.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it's muted. I don't know why the meeting started so early. I came in at 10:30, but
Okay. Sorry, there was a discussion earlier. I sent an email about it, and it relates to.
Ross Malloy is
He's
welcome,
with us
Ross.
now.
I'm well aware of the emails going back and forth.
Okay, well, we're proceeding with the meeting now with minutes of the previous board meeting. I would like to proceed with approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting. I think you all should have a copy. Are there any modifications or suggestions to to the minutes?
I move we accept as presented.
It's been moved,
I'll second.
moved and seconded. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
I think David is asking for discussion before we proceed with the vote.
No, I was raising my hand for an aye.
Oh, I see. Okay. Are there any opposed votes? Are there any abstained votes? The motion carries unanimously. President's report. Nothing at this time. I may have something later, but I think we're moving along with this normal. I won't call it a new more normal anyway. We've been doing it for 2 years. So this is our normal, and I think we will proceed on this basis. VP administration report. Will, do you have anything to comment on?
Not at this time. No.
Okay. VP public relations. Willie, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what is the protocol for like advertising? Should I run it through this committee first or the board if I want to put logo on a publication of some sort, or how does it work?
I think my opinion is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's your job and you can do it.
Okay.
The only caveat is if it involves an expense, it needs to be brought to the board.
Okay. I mean, I have some ideas and some places I want to put advertisements, so I just want to make sure I don't violate any kind of copyright rules with the logo or mentioning the website and all that.
I'd
Okay,
suggest that you,
Saul,
I'd suggest that you make, if you do it by email, copy the board.
So
Can we-
Saul had his hand up.
Just wanted to clarify, Willie, are you asking if there's a official logo for the seniors computer group and that you want to apply that to some document that you want to advertise our meetings with?
that's one of the options. I mean, I see the logo behind Stan and I have a copy of that. But I'm just wondering if it's okay if I just, what it is, okay, Mary Burns said, because I talked to her, she teaches the CE classes. She's done it, a presentation to this group before. And I mentioned it to her before, and she says, hey, if you work up some kind of brochure, I'll stick it in my website, my lesson plans and all that stuff, and I'll advertise for you. So I just want to make sure I don't, that I can use the logo and use the website and direct people to the website and all that.
Thank you.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I think that kind of heads up is all that's needed. You don't have to get our approval to proceed, but we do like to know what's going on.
I'll send you a
that's fine.
copy of the logo that I have, which I put it all over the website.
I was just going to comment, should we allocate a maximum amount of expense that he can handle? Give him, say, $50 or $100 is maximum. So he has a pre-authorization to spend money if he needs to.
I think that if he anticipates the need, he can. Do you think having to come to the board before you authorize money a problem, Willie, or what's your opinion on that?
Well, there's only one avenue of advertising that I thought might cost something, and I'd have to get an estimate on. I have a cousin who does voiceover work in LA for acting, and he'd be glad to do something for a nonprofit like this. And he can basically just make a really nice voiceover for a video or a logo or something. I don't know. I haven't approached him yet. It's just an idea. He did it for my sister's nonprofit group. And
You can get permission pretty fast.
yeah, I'm not gonna move
Money.
on anything that's costing money at this point. It's all just emails and logos.
Since he's
okay.
since he's in charge of that, I see no problem with pre-authorizing him. Like $100 maximum at this point, and
He's not
So-
asking for it, Will.
Not yet.
well, yes, he did. He said earlier that he was talking about any expense he might have. Is that correct, Willie? Did I understand that correctly?
No, I said that the initial, my initial idea is all just paper advertising for free. Okay, so it wouldn't cost anything, but I had this idea that, again, my cousin who's an actor, I don't know if he's going to require some kind of money, but his business is voice. And he's got he's almost our age. I mean, he's 50 years old, so he's not just a youngster, but he would appreciate, I mean, he could reach out to other people of his age group as a voice actor, but I don't know if I'm pretty sure he would do it for nothing.
Okay, I think you got
But it
authorization to
would-
move forward.
But I wouldn't
And
move forward unless the money was there, put it that way, allocated.
does that mean you would like to have money allocated?
No, not now.
Okay, all right.
It's all,
Then moving forward on the agenda. Anything else, Willie?
nope.
All right. VP programs, Hank.
Nothing other than always happy to hear anybody's idea for a presentation, anybody's idea for a subject for a presentation. And if you think of it in the middle of the night, you can go to my list of mini seminars, and there's a place on there to make suggestions.
All right, very good. Thank you, Hank.
So, while we're there, Hank, do we have things for the next few weeks lined up yet or not?
One, Ross, next week.
All right.
It is next week, isn't it, Ross? Thank you.
Okay, moving forward. Treasurer's report, Miriam.
Hello. We had no financial activity at all in the month of December, so the balance remains at $4,808.47. However, I do have something that requires a motion that is recorded in the minutes. When I contacted the bank, remember we said we were going to add Saul to the signatories for the checking account. Well, when I called the bank about it, they said, first of all, that Ray Schlater was still on the checking account, as was Stan Follis. So I made a decision that, well, we could stick with, we need two, and we could stick with me and with Stan. But the lady said in order to remove Ray, we had to have a recorded motion that he was to be removed from the checking account. So I propose the following motion, that we remove Ray Schlater from signing privileges on our checking account.
And I'll second it.
Thank you.
My question is, in discussion, did you want to add anyone in that same motion, or do you want a separate motion?
That's the only thing we have to record, is to ask to be removed, because you and I are already on there, and I figured two was enough.
Okay, very good. It's been
And Saul
moved,
seems
and
happy about it, so that's good.
that's important, yes. May I ask the secretary to read the motion back, please?
Okay, there's a motion on the floor is to remove Ray from signing privileges on the bank account.
Correct.
All right, I call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Those abstaining? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Miriam, for taking care of that, and it will appear in our minutes.
Okay, and once I have those minutes, I'll send it off to the bank. Let me say at this point, she is going to send us, you and me, a new way of a new signature card, but we're going to do it electronically. Neither of us has to actually go to the bank to get this done, but there's still a small piece of work left. But
Very
I
good.
look forward to the minutes so I can get this piece done.
Well, David's been very prompt in the past, and I presume he will be in the future. Well,
Miriam, we did
Yeah.
have several PayPal in
I did
December.
not get any money from PayPal, which I since learned is Hank has to ask for it to get transferred from PayPal.
I see.
to our
Even though
checking account.
even
And
though we
apparently
received
that
it.
did not happen. So there must be
Okay.
quite a bit of money accumulated at PayPal.
No, a lot of it has already been moved. It just wasn't, the things didn't happen in December. There's been a lot
Right,
of activity in January, Will.
right. So the January report will probably have quite a bit of money coming in.
Okay, thank you.
incidentally, when I paid dues just a couple days ago, I might mention thanks to Hank's letter reminder to everybody that the dues were due. On the website, it took me to a PayPal page indicating it was a donation, and I was not able to specify, or I didn't find a way to say membership or dues. So I did it, and it immediately went to my bank and deducted the money immediately. And the first notice I got was that it was deducted from my bank. I received that, well, this morning. And so there was no money going to PayPal for that transaction. It came directly out of my bank. So I think that's good in that, but still, SCG does not have that money yet because I guess it went into the PayPal fund. So anyway, irrelevant.
That's true. However, it does say dues or donation, I believe. It doesn't
That's
say just
correct.
donation.
Okay, very good. All right, are we concluded with the treasurer's report? I believe we are.
Yes.
I move we accept the treasurer's report as submitted.
I thought we,
Second.
oh, okay. It's been moved by Will and seconded. I saw Arlene's hand flash and I heard somebody else speak.
I seconded, but
So-
Arlene did as well.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, any discussion? I keep forgetting discussion at that time. All right, all those in favor, say aye, please.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And those abstaining? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, membership. Will, would you
Yes,
like to take the floor?
can I share a screen, Hank?
Yes.
You can now.
Okay, all right. Looking for what I want and,
Are you going to share what you sent to us?
no. I'm gonna share a report on membership if I can find it. It's up on my screen somewhere. Here it is. I think I just found it. Except now my mouse isn't working.
You're going to have a conversation with your digital assistant.
There we go. All right, here is a different way to present the membership as of today. I'm showing what members we showed for these previous years and future years. As it shows here in 2021, we had 26 members remaining in 2021. 22 was 23 members. In 2023, there are 12 members
So far.
So far, but yeah, so far, actually it's 13 because I don't have Stan in here yet. He just joined yesterday or day before. For 24 and plus, there are 10. 9 of those are life members, and we have one additional one, which is not a life member. And at this point, we actually have, it should be 46 because of Stan's recent renewal.
I think,
Now, this
may I
actually,
say something?
yeah, go ahead.
You said these are the number of members we had in these years. I don't think that's correct. I think that's the number of members, at least not for 23.
Yeah, these are the number of
It's the
members.
number of
remaining.
members who, can I finish a sentence, please? For 23, it's the number of people who have paid so far, is it not?
No, it's a number of people who, yes, that's true. That's true.
Okay. That
And
was,
the number should be 13 at this point because I have not added Stan's recent renewal. So there are currently 9 life members. That may change, will change. And at this point, I think the number is 46 active. That includes the 9 life members.
yeah, so.
Saul has,
What is the number under 22?
those are the people who still have not changed to 23. I'm sorry, to 2023. There is still 20, probably that number should be 22 because Stan has recently changed. So there are 22 members who have not renewed.
Hold on. Okay, so the numbers under 2021 and 2022 and 2023 are the number of members who have not renewed, or the numbers who have paid? You've said 2 different things.
The number under 2023 are people who have paid
Who
for
have paid.
2023, correct?
Okay, what's the number one to the left of that?
That is the number of people who were members in 2022 who did not renew so far to 2023.
You've got a row which has
Makes no sense.
3 different things in it, depending on what column you're in. I think this is a very confusing chart, and
It is, and Saul has volunteered to help with a better presentation.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the data from Will in order to analyze what's been going on.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I'll admit it is confusing.
I await your assistance with
But
great
all right, now
joy that there will be some.
let me say in March 1, we will drop all of the people who have not renewed to 2023. So of those 23 members in 2022, there may be some who do not renew, and they will be dropped. So that active number could change down or up, depending on what happens between now and March. Okay, sorry for the confusing report, but we'll work on it to make it better.
Okay, thank you for that report. I am thoroughly confused on it. But David, do you wish to discuss?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that what I get from that table is there's still a bunch of us, including myself, that have not yet renewed, and thus we should perhaps in another week or so, for people that haven't renewed, ping them once again.
Yes.
Will
Now the question is,
does that.
when do you suggest that we send out a repeat renewal letter?
Arlene has a question, but let me address that question. I think it should be sent out again and make it clear that the recipient of that email is a person who has not renewed. My initial reaction was that that email that you sent, which is fine, except I didn't know whether it was only going to people who had not renewed, or if it was just a blanket to everybody. And I had to go back into my records to see whether I had paid dues. I established I had not, so I paid dues. And Arlene has a question. I'll pass it to Arlene. Muted.
You're muted, Arlene. There we go. Nope, maybe not.
She's working on it. Give her a moment.
I'll make sure that only, go ahead.
May I speak on the subject we're on while Arlene unmuted?
Yeah, Arlene, we're going to go to Hank for a moment. We'll come back to you. Hank.
Will, I suggest you send something out on February 14th that says you have not yet renewed and will be dropped on March 1st. We'd love to keep you, or something like that.
Okay.
2 weeks before the 1st of March. You asked.
Yeah. I'll make sure that it goes only to those who have not renewed.
Yep.
And make it clear in the message that it is going to people who have not renewed, not everybody. Arlene is still muted, but she's working on it. I can see that.
And very frustrated.
And if not, Arlene, maybe you could post something in the chat.
Arlene, if you can hear us, you can go to the lower left-hand corner where it shows.
She's working on it,
video.
Will.
Well,
Okay. Thank you for unmuting me. I just wanted to tell Will, I paid for both Peter and I. That's
That-
why I paid $30. I was not trying to pay ahead.
No, I entered it that way for both you
Okay.
and your husband.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Are we through with the membership?
Let me just say,
But-
I do send out confirmation emails to people who have renewed.
Good, that's good. Thank you. All right. There's no old business that I know of. No new business. Unless somebody wants to bring something up. And I'd like to go through directors at large and see whether they have anything to contribute. Arlene Wade, do you have anything further?
Not today. Thank you.
All right, Jim Fagacci? He's not here, okay. Saul,
I
you
have
have anything
nothing.
else?
Nope.
And Alice King, would you have anything to observe?
Nothing to add. I was just kind of curious, was there a reason that the meeting started so early this morning? I mean, I usually we run them late, but
Yes, but you will.
Well, as a matter of fact, that's a
you'll
very
find
good
out in a
bridge.
couple of minutes.
I also had to wait to be let in, so maybe that was part of it.
All right, let me explain. First of all, I would like to announce that the board today has taken action to accept a new honorary life member in the person of Ross Malloy. That was the reason for the early meeting. And that was the reason for activating the waiting room. But
I was
Ross has
just curious
been,
why we didn't all know that, because I could have come in earlier.
well, there were multiple messages sent. I guess there was only one message actually sent. I had hoped there would be another message, but I had requested Hank to open the meeting early to discuss the chain of emails that went on to get Ross in. And I thought there would be a notice sent out to everybody that there was a early start to discuss and take action. That didn't happen. I sent one out at about 10 a.m. this morning.
Okay, I don't want to
Thank you.
belabor the point. That's enough. Let's move forward. Thank you.
All
Enough
right.
is enough.
Anyway, I would like to recognize Ross, period. You're up, Ross.
Thank you very much. But Ray Schlater already went through this a couple years ago for me, sir. So I do believe that I should be in the list of honorary life members.
Unfortunately, I don't show you in that list. And
I understand what you're telling me, and
yeah,
I appreciate the information that now you have added that. But again, it's been at least 3-4 years since Ray offered that, and I was understanding that that's what it was. So maybe it's just now it's added into your group and we're all good. Thank you.
Ross, thank you for that input. I don't think anybody here is aware of that, remembered that, and I'm glad to hear that.
I do remember when it was proposed. You're absolutely right, Ross. It was. So that's that. And let's go forward.
Yeah, that was back at Wesley Palms itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Been at least 3 years.
Ross, did you get a certificate of anything? A certificate, a frame certificate or anything like that?
I can go back and look, but I have no memory of that. That doesn't mean it's not
Okay.
there.
Very good. Well, Saul was raising his hand.
Yeah, just a couple of things. We might rectify the lack of the certificate if it's there, and will update the membership database to reflect that Ross is an honorary life member.
correct.
And the last thing is just to address Alice's comment about the waiting room. The Zoom account that this meeting uses is by APCUG, and by default, the waiting room is enabled, and we turn it off once we get in.
Oh, I see.
Due to the different nature of the beginning of this meeting, when I came in, I wasn't able to assist because I wasn't a co-host yet. Usually I would get in there and turn it off, but anyway,
Thank you.
That's it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Apologies to Ross. I did not have that in our database that you had been changed to a life member, so I'll update that immediately.
And I guess we just should say, congratulations again, Ross. We just wanted to recognize your contribution to the group and how much we appreciate you, taking your time and sharing your wisdom with us.
Hear, hear.
We're going to adjourn here one of these days?
All right. Next meeting is at February 11th. And I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you all for being here, and I turn it over to Hank and Will.
I would like to ask something. We have a attendee with the name DPILL. I'm sorry, I don't recognize you. Can you tell us more about who you are and how you got here?
Will, that's Don Peeler, and he's associated with the Walkabout Group.
Okay. Glad to have you with us, Don.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I got the message from Stan the other day, and I thought I would join and see what happens.
Could I get the spelling of your last name?
Piller.
Okay, thank you.
We keep track of visitors and are happy to have them.
And if you find this is a
Don't
useful
keep track
place,
of
we
it.
encourage you to join.
Okay, we're up for Q&A. Anybody have anything interesting this week happen, or dismaying or difficult?
Go for it, David.
All right. One of the things that I saw this week, which actually I think I'd seen before, was that apparently there was a fairly significant data breach at the LastPass password manager place. In the videos that I saw, they said that, well, the data that they took, while the passwords were still encrypted, much of the metadata surrounding them was not. And so, they might say, oh, there's a password for Seniors Computer Group, there's a password for your Amazon account, and there's a password for a bank account. Which one do you think they're going to try to crack first? And so one of the things that I would basically, as a matter of just sort of, if you use LastPass, do consider updating your numbers, your passwords for, all the accounts that may have, that, you wouldn't want a hacked password getting into. Most of my accounts, I already have two-factor authentication. So even the password isn't going to be quite enough. And so I just was wondering if anyone else had that or wished to talk about the severity or the what actions we should take in response to this kind of a data breach.
I'd suggest that our security guru, who just became a life member for the second time, might have a comment.
And in the meantime, Dan has his hand up.
Go ahead, Dan.
Unmute.
I'm trying to figure out how to unmute this thing. I on this computer that I use, it belongs to someone else. They disabled the Zoom meeting. So now I had to get into Zoom by clicking on the item on the email, and I seem to have a different version of Zoom. So now I used to have hold your hand and stuff up over under the participants, and now I have to click on reactions to get an option to do that. So I'm having some difficulty with that. The main reason I put my hand up was you were talking about two-factor authentication, and I ran into great difficulty with that this week, amongst other things, in that I lost use of my cell phone. And the only way they would do a two-factor authorization was to send a code to my cell phone. Since my cell phone will not work anymore since the first of the year, I wasn't getting the codes. I had purchased some software, H&R Block, tax software, and I tried to sign on to Amazon, and Amazon wanted a code, which I couldn't, what they were sending to my phone, but I couldn't get it on my phone, so I couldn't download my software. So I had various and assorted difficulties this week, and that's kind of where I am. I'm still waiting, trying to get my phone straightened out. The phone people said I would get a free phone, but in order to get a free phone, they would have to send the code to my cell phone, which didn't work.
Catch 22.
So here we are. I still don't have a phone, or don't have a cell phone, I should say.
Yeah.
And I've managed to download my H&R Block software by using another computer, which I normally use, which I think had a cookie in there, which allowed me to bypass the second authorization. So I did get my software downloaded, haven't used it yet, but that solved one of the problems. But that was my other comment on second authorization is some places allow you to tell them that this is the computer you're going to use and you don't need second authorization as long as you use this computer. So they put a cookie in there and it says, okay, he's using the same computer, he doesn't have to authorize it. So that's some of the things that are going on that I had difficulty with this week. As an example, my credit union, every time I try to sign on there, ask me if this is a public computer.
Yeah.
And I say yes, and so I get the second authorization. If I say no, they'll put a cookie on my computer and I'll never use second authorization again, or never need to use second authorization again. So two-factor authorization. So that's kind of where we are. Is everybody talks about two-factor authorization, but there's a lot of difficulty with it.
But there's a good reason why it's there. Now, I understand that it does eliminate some people from being able to get into their own information, but the purpose of it is to stop the bad guys from getting in. So using your cell phone as a second factor turns out to be a pretty good way to make sure that the bad guys can't get in. if they get your username and password, they still have a really hard time breaking in so that they can get that code that is sent out. Now, I agree with you that you're having trouble with your phone and need to get that fixed ongoing, or you're going to continue with this fight, because that is more and more of two-factor identification is being required by most places to let you access your information. And to say that you've got a cookie today and that's going to take care of it on your desktop computer, that's not the case that I see. I see Chase comes back to me every once in a while and says, well, wait a minute, we don't find this computer in your list. Go through the authorization procedure again. So it's going to be an ongoing situation because the bad guys keep finding ways around the authentication procedures and the security procedures that all the devices or all the companies are putting in place. But yes, it's another hurdle that you're going to have to figure out how to fix. They're not going to bend to your meats.
Well, my credit union will send an authorization code to my email, which still works. So I can still get into my credit union, but I can't get into other things that.
And I have noticed that several of the places where I do set up the two-factor authentication, sometimes they will say, okay, you could send to a phone or you could send to an email, and
Sure.
that's and that means you've got a second option if one of your second factor authenticators goes away. It also means that there's a second way for the bad guys to get in.
That's true, because let's say they were able to hijack and break into your computer. They have access to your email at that point, at the IP address that the bank knows about. So having that phone is again, a very good security feature. Some places, yes, are changing their rules to allow you in, but yes, it's a big exposure to me.
Okay, is that
You
it,
done,
Dan?
Dan? Dan, your hand's still up. You have something else?
No, I just having trouble operating this new Zoom operation.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, well, I've got, based on what you were saying previously about the break-ins and that, I'm with Scripps, and of course they had the ransomware thing. And if you want to be part of the suit, you have to, opt in and all that kind of thing. And I was just getting ready to do that. And I was wondering, it's the healthcare people. Is there any downside to getting in on this thing? Because, I hate to sue the health foundations and all this sort of thing that I'm going to be using. So is there any downside? Does anybody know about? Heard about, etc.? That's one question.
So to me, I understand what you're saying, that you want your health organization to be healthy and financially sound and taking care of your information. Unfortunately, until it comes to cost them money, that a lot of places don't pay attention to the issues that inside people are saying, we have a problem here. And they go, well, we're going to put that off until 3 years from now where we can afford it. Then they get hit somewhere in the middle. So I can say, yes, it's a good thing not to. And I can say, yes, it's a good thing to go ahead and ask for that money so it gets their attention.
I was just wondering about the negative attention that you might be getting as a client and a patient and all that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So they'll put a star next to your name and you don't get any appointments for 3 years. I don't think that they're going to do that.
Those class action.
Yeah, and Pat, I'd be surprised if the amount of money that the organization paid out changed at all, whether you signed up or not.
Right. Her as an individual, right? I understand what you're saying, but in general, she's asking, is this a good thing to do, or should I just say, okay, they made a mistake and forgive them and move on? And that part I can understand. I just got a check in the mail for a lawsuit for monitors televisions because of the computer monitors, because there was collusion in there on setting the prices. So after about 5 years of the litigation and purchasing about 10 years ago, I got a check for $25. So there's not much money and not worth the effort if you're saying the amount of money that's there. And most of that money ends up going to the lawyers on both sides, not to us or back, as far as it costs the other company's insurance to pay for that.
Okay, well,
Scripps is offering $100 without having to prove anything.
right, yeah. But I know what you mean about the $25 because I've done all kinds of hassling and then they send you a check 5 years later for $20. But okay, well, thank you. That's good to know all that.
Okay. So
Those lawsuits are very lucrative to the lawyers.
Especially, yes.
Saul?
I just wanted to address some of the things that Dan brought up. As far as Zoom goes, I understand what he's saying. They apparently disabled or removed the Zoom application on the computer he's using. So he is coming in through a web browser, as Zoom calls it, their web client, and the controls are not the same as in the Zoom application. But we're happy to have you here, Dan. So you made it, and that's good. As far as two-factor authentication, obviously there's pros and cons. It's a double-edged sword. And I am, as Dan mentioned, if there's a cookie set in his browser for that entity, they won't ask for it. But I clear out my cookies for security reasons on a regular basis, and I encounter the same frustration. And I have contacted many of these entities, and the problem I have is that, unlike what David said, where they give you two options, as Ross mentioned, Chase, they took away the email option that always worked for security reasons, and they only offer phone, which unfortunately, when you need the code and I click call me, it doesn't call me. And so, and the other option is to call them, but that doesn't work after banking hours, like on a weekend or something. So I understand security, and the answer to all of this is there should be more than one way to do it, because one size doesn't fit all or always works, even if it's the problem on the other end and they don't make the phone call. So there has to be more than one option, and that way people will be able to get in properly to their accounts. That's it.
The only thing you can do if it gets to be too difficult with that particular organization, that they have tried to lock everything down, that you have to vote with your feet and find another service that is more amenable to you. That's not to say that in the week following that particular company is going to say, no, we need to increase our security also. So you're right. It's a two-edged sword. It's very difficult. Most of the companies are trying to work on processes so they don't use passwords at all. They're trying to use a lot of facial recognition or other biometric recommendation or remediations to understand that you are who you say you are.
And I agree with you, Ross. And Chase is unique in that they took away the email option, and other people still offer it, as David mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people offer options, some people don't offer options.
That's right.
And that's where we are.
That's it.
So, yeah, it's the same thing with passwords is some programs allow you to try as many times as you want, and some will limit it to 6 or 8 times, and so on and so forth. I was just reading the paper where they have a guy has a account for Bitcoin, and he has a bunch of money in there, but he's down to 2 last selections because he forgot his password. So he's got several $1 million in Bitcoin, which I don't know if that's worth anything or not, but he can't get to it because he doesn't remember his password.
Well, I just wanted to I have a question, but I just want to make a comment about this two-factor authentication. I don't know if anybody remembers a few years back when I went to my brother's, I left my cell phone here. Boy, you couldn't do anything without the cell phone. But I was staying at my brother's, so it really didn't matter. But then in the past, though, I've got two phone numbers. They all my phone numbers end with the same last four digits. And every now and then I would put my landline on there and they would actually call on the landline, which is like not as bad or not as, you know, easy as a cell phone. But if you don't have a cell phone, you could landline if you have one, although they're going out. But my real question was sort of iffy. I'm going to a commemorization, I guess you could call it, or however you pronounce it, right after this. And I've got an album on my iPhone, and the place I'm going to has a TV. I'm not totally sure what the TV is. I know that the gal putting it on has got an iPhone. So I'm wondering, is there a way of I'm sure there is a way, I just don't know how, or how can I transfer my album of photos to her TV? I'm assuming she has a smart TV, although I could be wrong. But does
Your
any-
album of photos is on a cell phone?
is on my cell phone, yes.
Not in iCloud?
Oh,
If it's an
actually, that
iCloud,
was the third question I had about iCloud, but that's okay.
well, if you have it in iCloud, then
Okay.
on your desktop Mac or your Windows PC, if you're signed into iCloud on there, you can download those pictures to a memory stick. And then you can take that to her, plug that into her smart television and access that memory stick.
Okay, well, then we got to get a memory stick. That'll be for next time. Is there anything that I can do now with just
Well,
the
if you
phone?
sign, if it's in iCloud, then you could, on her smart TV, possibly sign in on your iCloud. But there is also cables that you can go from the bottom of your iPhone to an HDMI cable.
HDMI cable. I
And
probably
the
have one
Apple
of
Store
those.
should have those in a range of $50. And you
Well, I
can
probably have them laying around here somewhere. Okay, but that's okay. That's my son. Okay.
Anything else, Pat?
Nope, that,
Okay. Hank's
And then-
been waiting patiently. Hank?
On the subject of two-factor authentication, I got a message from somebody and they're lucky that I have forgotten who they are, saying, we see that you have two-factor authentication, but since this endangers your money, wouldn't you like to start three-factor authentication?
oh,
And
boy.
I'm just bringing that out to point out that every time the bad guys get rustling around in the underbrush, the system finds a new way to punish the innocent. That's it.
That's better than the money being gone. That's all I can say.
Ross?
So again, to me, Hank, I understand what you're saying, and I understand it makes it more difficult for all the rest of us. But again, the purpose is for them to try to help you keep your money. Now, on a bank account, not a stock, but a bank account, the bank will give you your money back if it was through fraud, whether it's through your account, through your computer, through their system. If it's fraud, they will give you your money back. If you have a stock account, then if that money is transferred out of the side of the United States, you're going to have a really hard time to get that money back, if ever. So you have to set up, I would be more and more secure with your stock accounts, and that you have to go through whatever that organization recommends as a second factor, a fax, a phone call, a text message, whatever that organization needs to have for them to authorize a sale or transfers of funds.
Okay. Thanks, Ross.
David,
And I wanted to come back to my original question, which was talking about password managers and the breach that was in there. And just in some ways, and I was, really, sort of talking to Ross a little bit. What do you think is a good password manager, or what should we do about a breach like that happening at a password manager?
I have followed not too closely, but have read some of the reviews of what happened with LastPass. At this time, I'm still staying with LastPass. I don't think that anybody has lost any passwords or had their accounts breached such that the bad guys can get in and say, okay, there's the Bank of America account, here's the password, here we go, and get in on your account. But again, the two-factor will help with that. So it's in addition to LastPass. But again, at this point, I'm staying with LastPass. I still work with a lot of people who use the password manager within the browsing program. The one in Chrome is one I'm more familiar with. And you can set that up so that you can see the passwords. But if you have a password on your computer, then you need to type that password in to reveal what that password is. It's really difficult to keep up with a printed or handwritten out list of passwords to all the sites with all the passwords, with all the security questions. If you're going to try to manually keep up with that, you best have a few accounts, because if you have too many accounts, people tell me, well, I'll remember that password.
Right.
Well, one of the things
I still use LastPass and do not see that there's anything out there. I have not reviewed to say this one is better than. And you can Google for that, and you say best password manager for 2023, and you should find some reviews by a few people that say here's what we like. And if you found 2 or 3 reviews that said this is the one we recommend, then that would be one I would probably change to.
the only thing that I really have done in response to this is for, the accounts that are important, not things like, Pets R Us or whatever it is. But I've gone in and basically regenerated, difficult, with the password generator, generate new passwords and update the passwords on those places. Just, it's good practice anyway, but for me, it was the impetus to do it now.
Yeah, and then again, if you're using the password manager to remember those, it doesn't matter how many characters there is or how many uppercase and lowercase and special characters. The password manager has created those and stuffs that into its own self, so that when you click on the button and you go to that website, it shows at the LastPass square, you open that up and it pushes all that in. Because that's the hesitation I have with people who say, well, that generated password is too difficult for me to ever even hardly write down, let alone type in. And I agree with that, but that's why we use the password manager.
In some ways, the password manager allows you to use good, secure passwords and not overtax your brain or your pencil. And also, while I have the floor, I think it was Stan was wondering at one point how to get a list of the contents of your LastPass, and I said that I was able to do that, and that way, if you wanted to have a backup of that, it can export to comma separated values, and then that can get imported into other places if you need it.
But I believe you have to do that through your online LastPass account, that you have to sign on there. Okay. And then you can export that list. I don't think there's an easy way. That it used to be, the last time I checked on it about 6 months ago, you couldn't do it locally. You had to sign on to your online account.
Yeah, and presumably the password of that account is in the password manager.
Well, that's a pretty big breach then, isn't it? If you have that in your on your desktop last password manager, you have that password there. If someone breaks in,
Yeah, that is the problem. There's always one place you need to be able, you always need your password manager password. And where do you keep that?
so on LastPass and your master password,
Yeah,
if you lose that information, there is a procedure where they will go through and they will try to harvest it from your local computer. But if that local computer has changed, you've changed to a different computer, or again, that information is gone off the local computer in a place that LastPass puts it, not your password manager, there is no way for them to unlock your account ever. They do not do that.
Yeah,
you are going to keep that password good, active, safe on that password manager password.
And so that's when you do want to print that out on a slip of paper somewhere that you can find it that's not on your computer. And that's one that you need to keep track of. The rest of them, the password manager can keep track of. Anyway, off my soapbox here.
Most of the browsers save all those passwords anyway. If you go to properties, you can dig through and find passwords.
If you've enabled that and you allow it when that pop-up comes up when you're logging into a website, and it will say, can Chrome, can Edge save this password for you? And some people will tell me, no, I never do that. And that's fine. Okay, what's your password for? Oh, I don't know. So it's a two-edged sword, as been mentioned several times today.
Will?
Yeah, my question is, the Gmail password keeper we're talking about, what's the probability of that being cracked?
Well, it depends on, that requires two places. One, on your computer itself, do you, when you open up Google Chrome, that password manager is open. Now, if you go to a website that password manager has information in it, then it just puts it in. If you want to see it, if in that password manager in the browser, there's a button to push on the right-hand side of the password to reveal it.
Yes.
There it requires that you type in the password for your computer.
Yes.
So if you have no password for the computer, there is no security. It's right there.
No, I'm just saying, can they attack the Gmail password manager? And
Well,
is that ever done?
I have never heard of that.
Okay.
Now, what you're saying is that, can someone outside attack Google and find your account, find your password manager and access it?
Yes.
Okay, that's again, I have not heard of that. Now, if you're really concerned about that, then you go in on your account, on your Google, on your computer, and you tell it not to synchronize that information up to Google.
Yeah. Also, the second question, are there any attacks really going against individuals, or are most of the attacks going toward sites that have large numbers of passwords and they're hoping to crack those? And if that's the case, it makes no difference how complex your password is. You know, if they crack the outfit that has all of the passwords, even if your password is 120 characters long, they've got it.
Well, but your password's still encrypted at every one of those places.
Yes, and that's what their security is, and from what I've heard from them, that even though they may be able to break into a company like LastPass and find your name on there and say, here are the sites that you have, and then the password is presented as an encrypted password at LastPass, not your encryption, but their encryption, that to break that encryption takes a really, 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 really long time. Yeah. It's there, they can see it, and they can say, Will has these accounts and this password, but again, they can't break that encryption of that password, from my understanding.
So how are they getting these passwords that they claim they're cracking?
they're getting partial information on the account. They're not getting direct access to your account. They're seeing that you have an account with, and here's the encrypted password, but they can't see that password because that password is encrypted.
And, even if you put a lot of resources, you can maybe able to crack, a password like that. And when they get a big dump of stuff, they're going to go and look for the lowest hanging fruit, which is going to be, people that aren't using a computer generated password. If you're going to use a password, my dog is Spot, they'll run their decryptors and find those, or whatever. And so,
again, that's an encrypted password. They don't, when they're presented with that encrypted password, there's no way for them to know how many characters are in there or how complex that is. They just have to run their generation machine on there to see if they can come up with something that says, oh, that looks like a password to us. Let's try that one. And again, from what I was told before, it can take years worth of big computers to be able to break that particular password. Now, if you're using the password called password, then they can break in on your account directly. But I have not seen where these accounts, these hacks have actually led to direct access to people's accounts. But doing as David recommended, to say, I know these are really important to me, I'm going to choose on the side of security to go back in and update all those passwords. So even though they may have the encrypted version of that, then that download, that's not going to work anymore.
Yeah. So are there individual attacks against people?
Sure. Sure, yeah, they will try to break in on your, that's why you have two-factor identification on your accounts for the banks, and Gmail is what I have two-factor on there. And anywhere that I can, I turn two-factor on. Microsoft's the same way. And they will try to go in, and if they find an email address, they will try to use it. They'll go to bankамerica.com and see if they can log in.
And Will, I would think most of the attacks on individuals are these scams that we, that are in our email boxes several times a week.
Yep.
And you just get used to deleting those.
Yep.
But that's where I think most individuals get trapped.
When you allow someone into your computer, then they
No.
go and look for a password file.
They were having trouble with your Facebook account. Would you type in your email address and password for your Facebook account, please? And people do it.
Yes. Yep. Okay, thank you.
Will, Stanley? You're muted, Stan.
Yeah. All right. If you want to pursue this, I use a Excel spreadsheet with all of my passwords, with passwords for Walkabout in it. And I find it a good solution. Do you want to hear again, because I think I've talked about this before, how I use an Excel spreadsheet to save my passwords, or do you want to move on to another topic?
I think that's dangerous.
Okay.
I understand
All
your,
right. All right, then I'll take that as a yes. You want to pursue it. All right. I use an Excel spreadsheet, which is protected. It's protected with a special character password with numerals also. And it's about 10 characters. So the spreadsheet is protected. And
okay.
I carry that on a thumb drive and on an external drive on my computer. I don't know whether that gives me any more protection for being on the computer, but the primary or mother database is on the external drive on my computer, and that's where I make changes, and then I make a copy of that onto a thumb drive that I carry with. The advantage of it being on a thumb drive is that any computer that I go on to and I want to log into whatever, either whatever, I can plug it in, run Excel, open my spreadsheet with a password, and cut and paste my user ID and password and have available other information such as account numbers or question answers, and log in from anybody's computer. So anyway, that's how I use it. I have found that to be satisfactorily encumbering, rather than the other systems that you talked about.
No, I didn't realize you had it protected, Stan. That's why I said it was dangerous.
Well,
Protected, I think you're okay.
there are tools that you can download that will work on the password specifically for Excel. And given time, that will find the password that's there in your Excel spreadsheet. So I understand what you're saying is on an external drive, but if someone was to break into your computer and they were to say, let me look for a file called passwords. And then if you've labeled it in that way, that directs them right to where it is, no matter whether it's on an external drive, USB key, or wherever. If you have,
give me a break here, Ross. I did not label it passwords. Now, the name I chose may not be terribly unique or clever, but it is not password.
I have seen that many times where people do that. And that's why the only reason I mentioned that. Adding a bunch of information at the beginning of that file, calling it, say, Christmas cookies, and for the first 20 pages, it's Christmas cookies. Then you get into where your passwords are, and you know to go down to page 20 before there's any information there. There's tricks like that you take that memory stick with you. Then to me, it can be lost at any point because you have it there. And someone could possibly find it and then say, gee, let's see if we can figure this out. If you were to lose that, then to me, you need to go back in and change all those passwords that would be in that particular vault that's there. It's a way, all these different ways that we try to protect it makes it harder and harder and harder for the bad guys to get in and access that information. So again, it depends on how much security you need to have on that. If it's a bank account that you're trying to protect, then again, the bank's going to give you your money back. If it's with a lot of accounts that have two-factor, even though the people have the username and password, they're not going to be able to get in because they won't have availability to that second factor. So there's another level of security that's enhanced in there.
Okay, I guess my final comment is, along with Will Wakely, I think if I make it reasonably difficult, they're going to go on for easier pickings, unless, of course, they are targeting me individually.
Right.
And so anyway, that's my rationale for still accepting my system.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Hank.
Let's see, somebody said so. Oh, yeah. First of all, who was the person that said they had a friend who was in voiceover?
It was Willie.
Willie.
It was Willie? Yeah, there you
Yes,
are.
me.
Thank you, Willie. I'll communicate with you later.
Okay.
I have a question for Ross. Did I hear you say, Ross, that you have never spoken to anyone who has had real damage, like money lost because of being hacked?
So yes, I have had people who have been hacked or have lost money, but most of the time, 95% plus are ones who gave the password away. Or they said, oh, I owe the Bank of America money. I owe SDG&E money. Here, let me go buy some gift cards and I'll give you those numbers. The type of things that I have seen many, many more times where they trick you into giving away your information. As
Yeah.
far as saying somebody whose LastPass account or Chrome was broken into and all the passwords there stolen and used against them. No, I've not seen that. But most of the time, again, it's with an email account, and maybe they had a very simple password for their email account and did not have two-factor identification turn on that email, and that's what gets hacked. Or
And
the
what
bad
does-
guys, again, they go in and they access, you click on something and it gives that person access to your computer. Then they go into your email account and then just copy all the contacts and say, gee, send me some money. I just got hijacked coming out of a bar in Ireland and I need $50.
I would suggest that in your presentation that you have scheduled to give here, that you make a list of the dumb, really dumb things that people have done that got them screwed up. And we keep that list somewhere and we bring it out about once every 3 months and drill it into everybody's head. Don't do these things. Thank you, Ross.
I mean, at some point, we'll just make that a condition of membership.
Don't do these dumb things. Pat.
Okay, I'm not on mute. Okay, I've got a question, but it's more or less a Mac question. I was having some issues, and I had to go back in and after I opened the computer and all that, and I had to sign in again and agree to conditions before I could use my iCloud. So probably the first time I did it, because this computer is so slow, it just goes black, and then I just walk away and wash the dishes and come back and it's back up again. So I might not have done it the first time, but the second time I did agree to it. And then I went back into my iCloud drive and I'm seeing that some things have got the little iCloud thing by it, and other things that you'd think would be an iCloud aren't. So I'm wondering, I generally put everything in the iCloud, and I don't care if it's $2.99 a month or whatever. I just in there and sort through it later. So how do I get this stuff? I mean, it's like folders, like my computer information folder isn't in the iCloud, but I'd like it to be. I'm not sure what's in there, but probably something good. And I've got a bunch of them like that, whereas the other ones are. So how do I get the ones that aren't in the iCloud into the iCloud? I thought when I agreed to it that it would kind of update itself, but apparently it didn't. So yes.
Those agreements are usually because they've changed their terms and conditions, saying we're not going to be liable if kind of things. That's what then those in terms and conditions. And that's why they prevent you from doing anything in your system until you agree, basically, you're not going to sue them because of these conditions. That's what that was. Now, as far as changing it to allow the system to back more things up, then I would say you need to do that in iCloud to say, here are the things I want you to include in my backup. And you may need to do that through the iCloud. I'm not sure on there. Maybe Saul can answer if there's a way to right click on a folder and say, include this in my iCloud backup. But that would be something also that would be a very good question to call to talk to Apple about. Says, I need help with adding more things to my iCloud. That's something they're going to be very interested in helping you do, because then they're going to make more money off of the iCloud storage. Now, to speak on iCloud storage, it is cheap. $1 a month gives you 50. $2 a month gives you 100, I think it is, or if not 200 gigabytes. And you can go up to a terabyte in space with iCloud and store the information there. And it's the least expensive way that I know of to get things backed up.
Okay, all right, yeah. Yeah, I'm paying the $2.99 a month now, but there's stuff here that I have no idea why they're not there. But I'll call, good idea. Thank you. I have another kind of a crazy question, but it's a Zoom. And you know how you click over and people's names pop up and then they disappear, you know, with a blink of an eye? Is there a way of holding so that you see the names always without moving your mouse and then getting the names for like 5 seconds or less
Is this on a computer?
on a computer? With a
So
map.
are
You
you
see what?
using,
Would you say again what you see and where you see it and why?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking at everybody now and there's no names. Not that I don't know everybody's names, but so then I click off to the side and then people's names pop up for like not even 1 second or 2 seconds. And so I'm wondering how I can have them up all the time. I'm just like that.
Names show up all the time for me.
Oh, they do.
You're on a PC, not on a Mac.
So
Oh.
can you talk to this?
can I just jump in here for a minute? You're using the Zoom app on your Mac computer, is that correct?
Correct.
So you know how to get into the Zoom app settings. It's either the microphone or the camera with the little caret above it, and it'll take you to settings.
Yeah.
When you go in there under the video category, there's a little checkbox to ask whether you want it to display the names on the video tiles.
Oh,
If it's not checked, you won't see them. If you want that, check the box.
okay. Thanks. I'll check that out.
Thank you,
Is that
Saul.
it, Pat?
Thank you. I'll try it.
Dan?
Okay, I'm here. I had two items to talk about here. One is when you talk about security on your passwords and things, all of us are getting a little older, and one of these days, someone else is going to have to get into those accounts and get them straightened out. So there should be some way to leave your password information for whoever is your executor or has to handle your items after you're gone. But that's another subject. Now, the other thing I had to talk about was I sent an email to Hank. There's a new program out, or I don't know if you call it a program or not. And what I talked about this once before. It's Chat GPT.
Yeah.
And evidently it'll do many things. It's artificial intelligence. And I thought maybe that would be nice to discuss that sometime at our group meetings. So I asked Hank about it. He said to bring it up at this meeting, and I just did.
Can you repeat what that was, Dan?
Chat GPT.
That's the new AI sort of service that you can type questions to or ask it to do things, and it will do all sorts of amazing things. I've not seen that, but I've seen that there's lots of videos out. I've not delved into it, but if there's someone that has and would like to share a video and start a conversation, that would be great, and Hank would be grateful.
What are the characters after the word chat?
George, Peter, Tom.
Thank you.
Wonder what that stands for.
I don't know, but that's the latest thing coming up. And in the newspaper article I sent you, someone had it write an article, but the guy that wrote the article actually had it write an article for him that he said was probably going to replace him in the future.
How do you get to this, Dan?
It was in Sunday's paper.
Yeah.
A guy that usually writes an article on
He has a column that he calls "I'm There for You, Baby."
Yes.
And he's been writing it for years, and his column this week was, "I think I've been replaced by an AI-enabled article writer, namely a machine that would generate articles. And
Is this a website?
no, it's in the Standard Union Tribune.
No,
It was on the front page. I think it was the front page, wasn't it?
The business section.
Yeah,
The what?
it's Neil Centura's column. He always writes interesting things. It's in the business section on Mondays.
Business section on Monday.
Yeah, usually it's in the,
Okay, that's
Right.
why I couldn't find it when I went back.
oh, yeah.
Hey, Willie.
I did not leap on this as something I want to present because I don't feel competent enough to present anything on AI, especially how an AI computer would write a column.
I don't think we have anyone here that's would be capable of talking about AI, but it would be a good discussion about what is available on the web that works with AI or can access AI. And I don't even know how you access ChatGPT, but evidently it's the upcoming thing. And he thinks it's going to, some people say it's going to replace Google.
Is there anyone here who is willing to do a little research, who is interested enough to just see what he can, general subject of AI? And if the answer is, I couldn't find anything, or I'm not smart enough to describe what I found, that's fine. Just somebody who's willing to go look. Any heads willing to nod once? I think I see it.
I will do a little bit of research on that, but I haven't had any success so far, so
Okay.
I can't promise anything.
And I'll keep my eyes open, you know. Maybe I'll just go to YouTube and see what's there.
in there.
And I
Wait
just,
a minute, I need to write myself a note.
I just did a little query and asked, what does the GPT stand for? And it apparently means generative pre-trained transformer. So this is something that's had a bunch of training data, and you can ask questions.
Yes.
You can
What's
ask
the
questions.
third? What's the T for?
Transformer.
Transformer. Okay.
Willie is patiently waiting.
It's fine. Yeah,
Hi, Willie.
I wanted to ask if everybody saw Dave's video go wacky.
Yeah, I saw mine go wacky.
Okay, so do you have any idea what that is? It happened in another Zoom class I was in and we couldn't figure it out, so.
The first time I've seen it happen to me.
Yeah, we had a woman in a class that just couldn't rectify it, and she just turned it off because it was showing other people's pictures behind you, which is weird.
I saw it on another Zoom meeting, but we don't know what caused it.
Okay.
Were you doing anything, David, at the time?
Listening to you people.
That's all,
That's enough to drive anything crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I just had a quick question. Stan, are you going to hang around afterwards? We can talk about Excel.
If Hank will let me, yes.
Okay.
Sure.
I'd like that.
You're a co-host. When I leave, I'll try to remember to leave by not ending. Just
That's all.
Ross.
So in the chat box, I listed how there are many steps that you can go through to fix your Microsoft OneDrive syncing to your computer. I didn't have it working on my computer last week. That's why I didn't list anything. And I finally found what my issue was. And mine was because I had what are called archive files. So if I run out of room in my Outlook account, I can archive information, or if I want to copy it, it puts it into an area that OneDrive cannot sync from, and it will stop everything because that was there. So once I moved them to the way we always do it when they're on a network, because it's the same issue, then my syncing started to work. But it goes through a number of steps that you have to go through and things to check if your OneDrive is not working. You can have the little cloud down on the lower right-hand side, and you bring that up, right-click on it, and it gives you options, and you can go and see all kinds of configurations in your computer. First is to make sure you have a good Microsoft account and you're logged in on that through OneDrive. And then number two is, do you have enough space to allocate to backup information? It only gives you, I think, 5 gigabytes unless you have an Office 365 account. And you can buy more from Microsoft if you want to have more space. And it works just like, very much like iCloud. It takes some more configuration, and yes, you have to make sure that it's backing things up. There is a tab on the right click called backup, and that's what I had to go in and click on there, and it says, can we back up everything that's under documents, back up everything that's under pictures? And I said yes, and then it started to synchronize. So again, there's a lot to go through, and you just have to go through it step by step by step to get things to work. You can go online to OneDrive.com, sign in with your Microsoft account, and you'll see what's being sunk up to Microsoft to sync into the computer. I have like 5 different Microsoft accounts, and that was part of my problem, is I had to get rid of some of the other ones that I was using on this computer and then say, this is the one I want you to use to sync to. And then everything started syncing fine.
Okay, thanks, Ross. Pat?
I just wanted to add to the artificial intelligence thing. I watched something and then I kind of read Neil's column, and they were saying, I don't know anything about this, but basically they said that they consider it a successful chat bot if when you call in, the ordinary person doesn't know the difference whether they're chatting with the bot or not.
Mhm.
And that's the sum total of all I know, so I'm not volunteering for anything.
Yeah, that's called a Turing test
Is that
to know whether it's a real person or a bot.
right? Exactly. Couldn't remember that part, but yes, that's what it was.
Named after Alan Turing, who helped break the Enigma code during World War II.
Right. Don't ask me where I saw that, but I did see that.
And I understand that some computers actually have passed the Turing test. Is that correct?
What way?
Yeah.
Under what
Well,
test?
the way you pass a Turing test is if no one can determine whether it's a person or a computer.
What questions were asked? That's what it gets down to, is how are you testing it? So in other words, if you ask for some very simple questions, what time is it? Where am I located? Types of things like that. That's very easy to come back with and say, what is the meaning of light? What's the funny joke? What is other things that require some more mental ability? That's harder for the AI chat to come up with an answer that you accept.
What did Alan Turing say the questions were supposed to be? He's the one that invented the tests.
Yeah, I think he died before we could get that out of him.
Yeah. No, I do understand, though, that they say that the Turing test has been passed by some computer programs. Now, I don't know what the questions were, but
Yeah, but I will say it this way. I'm sure some people have claimed that. Whether you believe them or not is up to you.
I will just say that as far as AI goes, is self-driving cars aren't quite there. They get flummoxed if there's orange cones along the street. If there's snow, they aren't quite sure how to make left-hand turns at times with the oncoming traffic, bicycles, pedestrians. I think the humans are still better at all that stuff.
Yeah.
When they're paying attention.
I don't see any more hands up. And it's 2 minutes after noon, and we usually are done by noon. So
looks like we are.
I think I will see you all next week, and gee, maybe I'll get my my background back up again. My background right now is actually where I am, sitting here in my study in Hawaii.
Did you get kicked off today at all?
No, I did not get kicked off once today. That's
so what's changed?
His background.
That's new and different.
So I won't be
maybe-
sending you a copy of the video file because I got started late anyway, and you don't need
Wait a
it.
minute, I'm going to go look on choose virtual background and see if that has changed.
Sometimes that takes additional bandwidth.
Yeah, by George.
Oh, there you,
Now, that is a still picture that I cheated. It's not the video that I was hoping would be there.
Yeah, you said that it wasn't doing video backgrounds.
I just wanted to see whether that had changed in addition to not throwing me off. Maybe it was doing something better. No, doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Thank you all.
Adios, folks.
And
I'm
about
going
that,
to I'm going to leave and make Stan the host.
Hank, would you, a question before you leave, please?
Yes.
I tried to save the transcript after the board meeting ended, and it only started to record the transcript when I clicked on show transcript.
I'm afraid I never got to the place that I normally get to because Saul nudges me.
I did it early in the meeting, so it should be okay this week. Just go look at
Okay.
it right now and see if
All
it's
right,
there.
well, my only question, I didn't save it on my computer because it didn't include the board meeting. My question is of David McCall is, does he want to see the transcript to back up his note-taking of the board minutes?
not at this time. If I send out a draft and people have lots of corrections, then maybe I should. But I'm gonna see if my handwritten notes will do for the time being. And also, I just wanted to note that this last week, I think there was another update to Zoom. I'm at 5.13.4 at this point.
yeah, I have.
Okay. I just had something weird happen. My screen reduced slightly, and off to the right-hand side, I've got about 8 or 10 icons vertically, and I have no idea what they are. First time I've ever seen them. One of them says twine, one of them says sesh. Any idea what these icons are? They're vertical.
I think you're looking at the participants.
No?
Mhm.
Did you hit the apps? I had some weird stuff pop up under apps.
Yeah.
No, these have a plus sign in the upper left-hand corner of the icon. And they say, let's see, sesh. I have no idea what sesh is. Oh, sesh is a visual meeting agenda. Another one is press video for Zoom. Another one says meeting tools and metrics by Reed.
I think Pat is correct. I think you clicked on the apps button and it's opening up an apps pane.
Where would oh, okay. I didn't
Right.
realize.
What's the apps button?
It's on the Zoom control bar, like mute,
Okay.
videos, etc. across.
You're absolutely right. Apparently I hit that by mistake. Never saw it before.
Go there.
Diagnosis without even seeing the screen. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Learn something new every Saturday.
Oh, I just thought I'd throw out there, I'm also doing my email because I got 4,000 of them. But Costco, if anybody is a member of Costco and has used their photo sessions there, they are now converting to Shutterfly. So you've got till not even the end of the month, I think it's around the 20th, to convert all your Costco photo, whatever, to Shutterfly. I think it's free, but you might, if you've got anything in there, you might want to do that. I don't know if I have